everybody. All right, we're finally live. Welcome. It's day 3 of tutorial week. Um, this week we are working on it's art tutorial week, and we are doing a lot of art this week. I'm trying to get everything going here. Hold on 1 second. Let's do this, do this. Sorry, guys, I am trying to get everything up on the screens. And so we can watch everything. I don't know if that's going to work or not. I'll test that one later. Sorry. I've got so many things on the mm, televisions around here. Um, on the tabletop here, let me see if my camera froze. I've actually been ready to do this for a little bit, and now it wants to freeze because I've been not active. Here we are. So we've got that scene here. Basically, we are going to be working on a project and a style of art called Pointillism, and we're going to be using a shade of a color. It's actually a tone of a color because I'm not going to go to the dark side. We're going to keep it light and airy. I've picked a subject that um, is basically all one color. And so it's going to be different. And hopefully it's going to work out. Now, the supplies that you're going to need for this project are basically um, either a piece of paper for beginners, if you don't have canvases laying around, a canvas. For my design, I used this glass dish, a ruler, and a pencil. Now, that's not on the list. You can just like paint whatever you want. You don't have to pre-design everything, but I wanted to make this a pre-design. Um, you'll need paints. Now we are going to do a little bit of color theory. So we are going to be using a tone of a color. And if you can figure out the color, here's the two main colors, the two primary colors, and of course white. Now these bottles are covered in paint because we use these bottles for all kinds of events. So anyway, sorry for that. We are full-time artists and we get paint on things. Especially, I think it kind of looks cool when it's on the bottles. I have Q-tips here. I also have paint brushes. We're not going to use my Chinese one. Put that one back. And we are not going to use these in a regular sense. We are doing pointillism, so we're only going to be using dots. So the bottom of these paint brushes are actually going to be our tool. Or is it the top? You know, you know. I do have a cup of water here just to help keep everything nice and neat, and a small paper plate that I am mixing all the colors on. Now, we have paper towels here to clean up any messes we make too. So that's pretty important too. So this is all you need to do this. So we are going to, I have a 4x6 canvas, and I've already pre-drawn out what my subject is going to be. Can you figure out what that's going to be? You have to let me know if you can figure out what that is going to be. Yeah, it's going to be different, but also very Florida. Um, and we're using these two colors. So if you are trying to figure it out, then yay, you are going to get probably be right. Um, I'm just trying to, I wanted to put this on a different screen up here. I don't know where to go with that. Maybe here. There it is. Now it's up there. Okay. So I have the other screen going too. so I can see it up there too. So if you see me looking here, that is a completely different TV screen up there. And I do need to mute that. Mute. Okay. So with today's episode of day 84, it's kind of crazy. I've been on here for 84 days straight. So we are doing a whole week of art tutorials, pointillisms in shades of a color. All right, so I did not shake these up. Your paints, like ours, sometimes, well, we use ours quite a bit, so um, they shouldn't be too loose in the paint. You should always shake your paints. We are using acrylic paint today, um, so give them a good shake. I don't have very. I need to go out and buy some more white. I need to go shopping. And okay, so I've got those. Now I usually keep like a long toothpick or something that I poke in these bottles just to make sure the passageway is clear, and then I wipe them off because you don't want to mix it in the bottle. Um, these bottles come from, they're like condiment bottles that you can get at, I got these at Dollar Tree. And they usually come two to a pack. But we use these bottles for our to-go bottles. I also use smaller little bottles too. Sometimes this size. I pre-pour the paint just so I don't have these bigger bottles, but the little bottles are empty right now. So we are going to go to the tabletop. Oh, let's go to the tabletop. Let's use our magic click. And 3, 2, 1. There we are. Let's adjust the camera a little bit. There we go. Now, with this, I'm going to move these tools that I used earlier out of the way because I don't need those anymore. We are going to be making a lime. So obviously yellow and blue make purple. No, kidding. Yellow and blue make green. So we are going to be using shades of green, and we're just going to basically try to do equal amounts of the same color. It's not always that easy to get equal amounts of the same color, because some paint might be a little bit thinner than others. And that's almost an equal amount. So that was not bad. Oh, by the way, I have to have my AG1 here in just a bit. I do have that for my drink this morning. Now, to mix these colors, you can either choose to mix them with a Q-tip if you have these at home, or you can mix them with a paintbrush, but just know that every time you mix a color, you want to clean your paintbrush. Now, in this case, I'm going to mix the color and I'm going to use the Q-tip as part of my painting tool. Um, so the easiest way to mix colors is to take them and push them together and just mix colors in between. So obviously, yellow and blue make green. Now, to make different tones of this great color, I picked green because, for one, I just did green with the kiddos at the school that I teach at, but it's springtime and everything is starting to turn green. So you can mix this to the consistency of the green, base green color that you want. Um, whether you want it to be more blue green or more yellow green, it's up to you. And of course, when you mix this color, you're going to get one shade of the color. Now I'm going to keep this Q-tip right here in that color. Hopefully you guys can see it. I'm going to take another Q-tip, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this green that we just made, and I'm going to push it over here and make it a little bit bluer. I'm not going to be using a lot of shades. A shade is a darker value of the hue. So the hue that we're making today is green. So that just means that the color, the main color we're making is green. And to make a shade of that, you want to make it darker. Now you could use black, or you could just use the darker value of the color to do that. Now over here, I'm going to take that same mid color and I'm going to pull it over and make it a little bit more of a yellow green, which is going to be a tone. So it's a lighter value of the color. Now also to get the lighter value of a color, you can add white. Now I do have white paint here, and we will be using white paint as well. I just didn't put it on here yet. So every time you mix a color, in this case, I'm using Q-tips, which is really great for if you're doing this project with your kiddo that you have at home, and you can do that. So basically, I have the yellow and the blue to make green. I took the green out and made a yellow green, and took the green out and made a blue green. Now, this looks very blue, so I'm just going to keep that in mind. I keep the Q-tips in the individual colors because I might want to remix that color, and it also shows me how many colors I have. So I'm going to make some more of this base green by adding more from our original pour of paint. So I just want to make sure I have enough color. So, and that's also a key, to have enough color. If not, to get back to a color, think of mixing color as a recipe. So if it takes one touch of this color and one touch of this color to make another color, then that's your recipe. One touch, equal parts. Now, if it takes two touches and one touch, you have 2 to 1. So think of everything as a recipe. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take some white and I'm going to drop some white to the side. Now with limes, and see if I can, I'm going to bring up my reference piece, hopefully. Let me see if that's going to work. I'm going to change my screen to one of these screens here. Trying to find it. Hold on 1 second. Here it is. All right. So I'm going to try to bring this screen in play here. Let's see how big it is. All right. And we're going to pop this on. Now, this is my reference piece. There's the chat window. We'll move that over. And it's these limes. Now, I changed the orientation a little bit for it because I do like a nice kind of triangle formation. So, so I have reoriented this a little and added an extra lime to my drawing that I have, but this is all shades of green. So even the rind of the lime is a very pale green. So I chose this subject because of that. So that is my reference piece there. I could put it up on the screen, maybe a little bit smaller. Maybe. Maybe I can do that. And just gonna try that. So if you guys know, I'm always moving stuff around here and trying to find all my lines. So that's not it. I don't know where it is. I was gonna put it on the screen at the same time. Let's just put it back up and then I'll resize it from here. So let's take it and put it here. Um, and we're gonna put it up in this top corner. It's always something. I am so sorry. So let's see if we can just scoot it over a little bit. And sorry, you guys, I am trying very hard to make this work for you guys. Let's center it right about there. Here we go. All right, there it is. So that's kind of our subject. I did, like I said, I have changed it a little bit as far as the orientation, but that is what we're going to be working with. So we'll just leave it up there. Let's see. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. I'm sorry. Okay. So with these, I just designed it out to have 8 sections, even though the line that's in the reference piece here has 11 sections. We're not going to go that far. Plus, it'll just start compromising the design if I take it too thin. So what I'm going to do now is also make a tone a little bit lighter. So I'm going to take some of that center color out and I'm going to add white. Actually, I might add a little more yellow to it so I can get more of that yellow green. So we've got it very pale here, a little more yellow. So the whole process of setting up when you're doing your colors and you want to have all these different colors, I highly suggest that you have them ready to go. Now, I didn't pre-do these because I wanted to do this with you guys on mixing color. So hence why we were saying a shade of a color today. Now, I'm going to make one light tone of the green, and then I'm adding to that on the side to make an even lighter tone and just pulling the white paint out and circling it in. It's like folding it in. It's almost like we're in a cooking show, but don't eat the paint. Don't drink the paint water. So this is going to give us a nice light, actually 2 light tones of this color. So I'm going to put this Q-tip here. I'm going to put a Q-tip into this one. So every Q-tip is a different color. So if you touch it to the wrong color, you're obviously going to make it a crazy color. Now this lightest value, I'm going to start off my painting with that color first. So sometimes I would actually do a darker value, but today, like all this negative space, it's going to be a dark value of green just to get those little, like pile of limes, there. So you're not seeing the inside cut of the lime. You will see just the outside of the lime there. That's kind of obvious, right? Yeah. So, so I'm going to start with the lightest value. Now with pointillism. Pointillism is basically taking these values of colors. I mean, you can use all different colors when you do pointillism, but in this case, it's kind of like monochromatic. Um, the one thing you want to show the value of a color or the contrast of a color is whether it's light and dark, right? So if it is a darker space, the dots of the pointillism, the little dots of paint, are closer together. So they're more intense, they're more close together, which makes them appear darker. Now, if it's a lighter area, then those dots are going to be spaced out more to have more light around them. So in this case, the the edge of this lemon or lime, sorry, is pretty much a standard color, right? This white rind or off white on the green scale, very pale green, is pretty solid. So we're going to keep those lines very solid. Now, when you are doing this, I always like to, when I teach it to the kids, it's just like you're making your own coloring book per se. We're going to do the outlines of everything first because this is a very graphic piece here. So it's not, we're not getting all a lot of full on detail. It is very graphic, it's very commercial kind of feel to this piece that I'm making today. So the first paint color, now keep in mind this is acrylic paint, so we kind of do need to work pretty quick. And I think that I'm okay with, you know what, I need one more color. I think I'm going to take this color and just make it a little more yellow. So I'm just going to add some yellow off to the side. So let me take that one there. And I might change these up. I might mix some more. It all depends on how it's going to go here with the setup. And I just love the way you have these little like spider legs coming out of the paint. Now, when I'm going to go back in with detail, these paintbrushes are a lot smaller. Let me see if I can get to focus. These little dots are going to be a lot smaller. So that's where the detail is going to come into play. So, but for now, we're going to do the outline with the Q-tip. So I like to spin the Q-tip with the paint to make sure it's nice and round and give it a little dot. And we're going to start with our very first, the full-on lime piece. And right in the center are pretty much the same color. So we're going to start with the center. Maybe I should bring y'all a little closer. Let's come in a little bit closer. How about that? And let's try it a little closer. So you guys already see all the mixing and all that. So you don't need to see all that while we're doing this. And I'm going to move myself over just a little bit. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to move myself way over here in the tiny corner because that's, we don't need to see me the whole time. So this piece, we're going to start it in the middle. Let's go. Let's paint. I know you are just like, I'm here for the paint. So here we go. We've got our colors mixed. We're ready. We're going to add one dot in the middle. We're going to pick up color every time. And the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to try to do it along the inside edge of my circle, and I'm keeping my dots close together. When you see it's running out of paint, just dab a little bit more. And I'm going to keep these dots close. So close together just means that it's got a full value of color. It's not a lot of space in between, not a lot of light. It's all one color. And the downside of Q-tips is they want to fall apart a little bit. So I'm just going to go around reloading the Q-tip every time. Maybe I have to grab some more color and mix it. And this is the way I teach this class in the schools that I teach or in other places that I teach. Most of them You know, it's always using Q-tips because it's easy to find. And most people have Q-tips in their house. But you can also use the back, like the eraser of a pencil. You can use that. Anything that's a round dot is what you want to use in pointillism. If you want to be brave and actually use the brush end of a brush, you can do that. But there's so many more colors that you can, I mean, not colors, but things you can use that are round that you can use to make your dots. All right. So we pretty much have our base of the lime here. Now there are 3 other outside limes, and there I'm going to change the value up a little bit on them. Maybe they're going to be a little bit lighter. They're not really my true on focal point. Just going to touch a tiny bit to the middle of there and just do the same thing with all these limes. There's 2 of them. Just mixing my color as I go. Might be a touch lighter. This one's a little bit different, but it's okay. All limes are a little bit different inside. We used to have a lime tree when we first bought our house. We had lime trees and um, lemon trees when we first bought this house, and yeah, they ended up getting sick, as a lot of citrus trees are. Um, I don't know how you want to say that. They can get sick, so we ended up having to take them out. We took them out probably 9 years ago, I think. But they did produce fruit, which was really good. The lemons were so good that we had. So we're going to do that. And we're going to put a little bit down here. So this is our base of our limes. And like I said, this is pointillism, guys. We're only doing dots. No swiping, no brush strokes, just dots. So if you notice in the reference piece, the left side of this is a little bit darker than the other parts. So I'm going to take and I'm going to mix some more color. I'm going to grab some center green. And I'm just going to add, and you're going to see the colors change. So you just want to change the value of your color as you are working. Um, so you kind of have a base color. We're going to do this a little bit darker on this side. And we're going to take each segment of the lime here. Because these lines of the segments we're going to do with a tinier brush. Because they're super tiny lines, you use a tinier brush or tip of the brush. So the wider the line, the bigger the tool. So I'm just going to go in and place some of these darker values, and you'll see the darker value come into play. And once you get it up against, you can always go over your dot again, which puts a little circle on the outside. So it's a fun little thing. So here's what it's looking like. Okay. So we're putting in, maybe you're going to overlap dots. That also gives you a darker value in the color too. So it will look darker if you overlap your dots, but you're only making dots, nothing else, just dot, 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 dot. So we're going to take that, and now we're going to start going into more of a yellow green. And this might look more on the graphic scale. I'm going to pick up some white and put over here on the edge. And I'm just going to fill it in accordingly to the color that you see. So this lighter yellow, I see it in my view, it's on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and dot these areas here in this segment. And I see this yellow, really yellow green. Grab a little bit more green. Spinning my Q-tip, you guys aren't seeing that. Making this color here. I'm seeing this color coming down the segment over here as well, just a little bit. And here, I'm going to add some here. And around the center, there's a couple little spaces here that have this kind of same tone. What you can also do to see different color value is to take the saturation of your subject and turn it black and white. Let's see if I can actually do that here real quick for you guys. If I take that same one and I change the saturation, let me move it around a little bit here so I can do that. I do work in Canva to do some of my pieces. So see here, when I change the value or the saturation and I bring it to black and white, you will see basically, now it's going to go blurry, where the darker edge is versus the light. So that makes sense. So it looks like it's white, but it's not white. It's very pale green. And the darker edge over here, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple more darker pieces. So if you have, whether you're using a subject piece on your phone, or if you are using maybe a editing program like Canva, you will be able to change it to black and white, and you will see how dark and light these areas really are. So I'm just going to start going in and changing it up and mixing these colors and start filling it in. So according to this, we're going to add a little bit of a darker, more green in here. I'm going to take the same tone of green and I'm going to place it over on this side. And I am doing overlaps. And then it is darker on this area of the color in the image. Now, if I wanted to actually make it even darker to see another layer of darker value on it, I could go in you can go in and change the contrast and see that. Or you can go to the blacks and pull that, and you will see it get darker there. And if you want the clarity to come up, you'll see the dark values coming in there as well. So I'm going to leave it at that. Place it back here. And so this is our piece here, right? Let me move it right on top. And then this is the green one. Let me see if I can make that happen. So there's the green, but when you look at it in black and white, it looks like this. So with that, I am going to put a couple of dark lines here, a little bit of a darker line here. I'm going to put some darker in here. And maybe even some darker values in this spot. Anywhere I see that that color is nearly the same value of color in the black and white, the shade of it, I will add what I think that color is going to be, where it's going to be. Maybe a little bit here. Okay. Now the other ones that are on the outside, they're not the focal point, so they're going to be a little bit blurrier, so they are going to be lighter in tone. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some of those and add that in as well. And we'll go back to the color image of it and drop the black and white behind there. And so this one back here, we're just going to go ahead and fill in some spots here. And you can just use this process to really make it up too. You don't have to go in and make your piece exactly the same. Like I didn't do that in the design, the original design here. I added an extra lemon down here at the bottom. I just thought it looked better with 3 around the edge and 1 more dynamic. So I'm going to reach over here and do this one a little lighter around the middle. And then I'm going to bring it up this way, a little bit this way, and maybe a little bit this way. I don't know, my mat comes clean really easy. So we've got that lighter value in there. Oh wait, the very bottom one. Bottom one's at the bottom, so it should be a little darker, but we're gonna put the light values towards the middle. Okay. So now we have several shades of green or tones of green. Um, and now we're just going to start filling it in. So as far as going back to the black and white, I think we have the base of the colors in there. I mean, you can see that this should be a little bit darker green in that. And we're just going to go with it at this point. We're going to keep the the full color one up on the screen. And I'm going to move this over so it's a little more center for you guys. Okay. All right, so let's get to it. So I hope that all makes sense because now I'm just going to start painting. If you have any questions and if you are tuning in live, thank you so much. Um, how do I have white paint all over my hand? I have no clue. Uh, I have my, how did I do that? I don't even know how I did that. Must have been when I was doing whatever. Paint happens, you know. Now this is acrylic paint. If you get acrylic paint on your clothes and you don't realize it until it's too late, those are forever your paint clothes. If you if you notice it right away and you have access to run to a sink, I highly recommend getting some soap and some water and trying to take it out of your clothes. If not, forever your paint clothes. Or you could just use an apron. Um, I'm wearing an older shirt, so I'm not really too concerned about that. But that's okay. Clean off my hands because I'll end up touching something that I don't want to have that. Let's see. After this dries, like if there are pencil marks still showing through, you can actually erase them, but only after it's dry. Keep that in mind. All right, so we're gonna go in. I haven't really used this as darkest value, which is gonna be the very outside edge. We'll do that at the end. And I'm just gonna start placing in color. I think that it should be this color here with more yellow. And this is a very fresh lime, so you want very fresh lime colors. I'm going to add white to that. Just keep mixing color and adding it, and mixing color and adding it. And you just want to make sure the value is different, but also the hue is staying on the green scale. You don't want to go too yellow. So we're just going to start adding them in. And I'm going to just randomly place dots. Only dots, everybody. Only dots. Because we are doing pointillism. And yes, if you space them farther out, then you get more light in there. So I'm just going to keep going with this color. I've loved this color a lot that I just made. And I'm going to put one here. I'm going to go back to my yellow. More yellow green here. And I'm always dipping into the same colors and adding in. That's why I keep these, the yellow and the blue, um, pretty clean paint, so I can just dip in and swirl. And Q-tips are perfect for this. Check that color. It's almost the same as this color here. Gonna lighten it up a little bit, add a little touch of white to the edge over here. Lift the color tone and add that in. Always remember to swirl your Q-tip because it might get a little crazy on the ends. And a little more yellow. Swirl the Q-tip. You guys can't even see me doing that. Let me take this reference piece and move it a little higher. Okay. What I've done in the past when I do pointillism, I actually leave the Q-tips in the paint and it becomes like glue. And I have them hanging on my wall. It's so much fun. They become art in themselves. Take that, mix a little bit more of the darker green and yellow. I'm going to try to pick up the pace here a little bit. I can't really speed the video up because we are live. I'm just adding in these colors. It's like when you boop the subscription button, you just boop it. That's the same way with doing pointillism, just booping. Booping a line. Now this shape might get a little crazy. You won't see those segments, but you will see them later when I add the little, what is it called? The pith? I don't know. The segments. I will bring back the color, a light color in there to section them off. I'm going to go to a little bit darker value over here. Grab this. It's a little darker, but not as dark as our darkest green that's there. If you are tuning in live, send me a little message. Always drop us a little comment. Let us know. Let me know where you're from. I am in South Florida. If you want to know more about what we do, you can check out our website, which is linked in our bio. It's coming along. I know it doesn't look like much right now, but it will. Okay, I'm going to work on these outside lines. And they're all a lot lighter in value, so I'm just going to grab some more yellow green. I'm picking up that original green color that we have in the middle and pulling it to the side. And then I'll touch a little bit of white, too much white. And add that in a little bit darker. I'm going to make it a little lighter, add the yellow. Add a touch more white. Bringing these colors all together, having so many different shades of green. Even though it looks a little yellow on the screen, it really is green. It's literally lime green. Now I've taught this class with different designs. We've done trees like this. We've done apples. We've done multicolor scenes with flowers before. And um, I think it's so much fun to do pointillism. It gives you the reference of what it is, but not all the way focused in. Start adding a little bit more white into this one. Mix it up. If you push the Q-tip as you spin it, it kind of is like a little mop. You're wringing out the color. And if you are following along, if you want to send me an image of your painting, that would be cool. You can do that. I believe you can do that from my website. You can find a way to send it there. Or if you wanted to send it via email, you could do that too. So I'm just going in and doing these outside ones, which are not the primary one right here. These are just ones that are there, just adding in the color. This one might be a little bit darker at the bottom. Sorry if my hand is blocking that. All right, it's looking pretty good. A bit darker color there. So this one that I'm painting right now, it actually is not even there in the reference piece. So I'm kind of just making it up a little bit. But it's organic, right? It can be whatever. Just changing the color value a little bit. So this is what, if I bring it a little closer to it, it's what we're looking at so far. And then I'm going to slide this over so I don't reach too far around the camera. And just fill in this one over here. Every time I do this, I add, as you've seen me doing it, you kind of keep adding to your Q-tip. A lot darker. space in here. And I'm going to change and go to the lighter green that I have. Just going to add this lighter one in. It does not take a lot of paint. If you noticed, we only put down, as far as a coin size, it would be a nickel. Maybe it's spread out to be a quarter size. Um, but doesn't take a lot of paint, and I still have a lot of paint left here on my palette. I do really like to overlap my dots, because this has got a lot of consistency and color. And what we can do is make it a little lighter by adding in a lighter tone overlay. Only dots, guys. Only use dots. Don't swipe around. These white spaces I left, I'm using a lighter color. Let's see if you guys can see. I'm using a very light green and just kind of giving them this contrast around there. I don't want them super white. So I am going to make the segments very soon. And the lighter the value in color, the juicier the lime will look. Like if you go back and you add this light tone, just makes the lime look like it's ready to be squeezed in your drink. Nice juicy lime in your water, or if you drink cocktails, you can put lime in, I don't know what cocktail. Oh, mojitos have lime. Um, just adding the same value in these white spaces. And then we're going to change up here in just a second to an actual paintbrush. And that is going to give us the finishing touches. All right. So with the paintbrush, we are going to be making very tiny dots. So this is where we're at right now. And we are going to be doing the edging. So as far as, sorry, I just knocked the camera. Let's see if I have some bigger paintbrushes here. So the ends of the paintbrushes can vary to largest to smallest, like that. And every time you change color, this is where these paper towels will come in handy in your little cup of water. We're going to move these paints out. And just going to pull the Q-tips out of our spaces a little bit. Now, the The lime around the edge is a dark green, more to a true green, but we're not going spot on with the color. So we will take, and it's quite thick, so it's almost the same space as the color that we have. You can take the back end of your paintbrush and mix your color. I might actually pour a little more yellow into this space, not a lot, just a tiny bit. And I'm going to get a darker value than what is here. And if I want to pull in some more blue, I'll just dip the blue in here and get this green, darker green value. Okay. And this, you gotta make sure you have enough paint. So mix up enough because we're gonna be using this color quite a bit. Um, add a little more blue. So just keep this in mind that if you see a lot of the same color, that means you need a lot of that color. So, and I like to try to spin that off. And my paper towels that I'm using, guys, are all torn up into small pieces. I like to have small pieces of paper towel when I'm doing smaller work. It's kind of good to have. So there's my little piece of paper towel. Now these dots are going to look a little bit different. They're not going to be as fuzzy on the edges. I guess that would be a word, fuzzy edged. I'm going to get enough paint and I'm going to overlap this. I think I'm going to go for a bigger brush. That's not big enough. Maybe we will use a Q-tip for that. Let's go to the Q-tip. Let's see what that's going to look like. Let's go back. Back to the Q-tip. And we want to overlap this. And what happens is that it will look like that white rind area is tucked in underneath the dark green. And this middle one is overlapping all of these lines. So you have to go over the edge of your line here. And it's almost half the circle. So if you can see that there, I'm going halfway over the rind part of the color. I'm trying to move this around so I'm not blocking the view. And we're just going halfway over what is there. Now, this is also where those pencil marks may be hidden from the paint, so you won't have to erase as much. And like I said before, if any pencil marks show, if you have drawn out your design, you can erase that once it's completely dry. Don't do it while it's wet. You'll just have a messed up painting. Keep going around. It's halfway covering that light green edge, the first edge we put down. I keep, make sure you hold on to your plate, or your plate will spin off to Never Never Land. This side is a little bit wider, so I'm just going to take and pull that a little bit wider out on this side of the line. Only dots, guys, only dots. No swiping. No brush strokes in this, just dots. A little bit more here. Maybe a touch here. Isn't it cool? I love it when it comes together. It's like, oh yeah, because once you start getting these darker contrast in color, it just really makes everything else pop. And when we do the little segments, it's really going to pop. So I'm just going to proceed with adding in this darker green around the outside edge of the other ones here. I really want to make that smaller, so let me mix some more color. Grab some blue, grab some yellow. It's almost equal parts. So I'm going to squeeze the Q-tip out, put this to the side, and then I am going to use a paintbrush. Let's see if I can pick up enough color on this paintbrush and put a smaller dot around these. This is where mixing enough paint is really important. You have to give it a little swirl and have enough on the end of a paintbrush because it's a lot different because the Q-tips soak up the paint. And when you use the back end of a paintbrush, it's literally just like one, enough for maybe two dots. Keep swirling and touching. And this doesn't give me a perfect dot, but it's fine. Okay. I'm not loving this paintbrush in here like this. Let's try a different one. This one's pretty big. Swirl it. Sometimes you have to experiment a little bit with the color and with your tool to find the right diameter of dot that you want. I thought about doing an entire series of lemon limes and oranges, maybe like a pink grapefruit, doing some fruits with this technique, which is pointillism. I think it would be cool to have a whole line of paintings that I do. A little bit wider there. Now, this is live, and I'm hoping I'm going to finish it in this section. We have been live for quite a while. Um, I should look up every once in a while, see if you guys are chatting with me. So actually did not eat any breakfast or lunch before I started this, so I'm really starting to get a little hungry. Okay, so you kind of get the point, right? Get it? You get the point? Every dot. I'm going to mix up some more color here because I'm going to do it with the brush, just because I need quite a bit more of this color. So I'm just going to pull all this yellow in. Let's slide this over a little bit. And we're going to make this color more of it because we are going to use quite a bit of this. And you can take your brush and spin it and squeeze it out. Squeeze out that paint. Always, like I said before, if you want to get back to a color, think of it as a recipe. A little bit of this and a little bit of that gives you another thing. Okay. I'm gonna do this one. So I swirl it, and then pull the paint in a dot off to get my dot on here. Sometimes it's only one dot you get per swirl. Whatever. Some people might find this relaxing, but some people might find this a little bit daunting. So many different dots, so many dots. Like 7,525 dots. And I gotta fill in all these, this white area. But this is what it's looking like. What do you think? You like it? All dots, 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 dots. One more here. And we just need to put the dark green around this one on the bottom. Should have enough mixed up here. And this is overlapping. And that one's going to be a little bit bigger. Oh, let's make that one a bigger dot. Maybe we go back to a Q-tip. and have that color on this Q-tip. This is why having the Q-tips in the color that you last used is really important because you might want to go back to that color and you can pick it up and hopefully it's not dried out by now. Like I said, this is acrylic paint. It will dry up fast. Just going to use this one here. The Q-tip is like where it's at. It really holds the paint a lot better than the paintbrush, but you're kind of limited with the size. So that's the bad part about the Q-tip. You can only get a certain size. I mean, you could do it a little lighter, but wipe that off. Does it look like the reference piece that I have? How cool, right? All dots, you guys, all dots. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a very, very light shade of green. And I'm going to take in consideration that I still have quite a bit of white here on my palette. And I'm going to take it very light. Now this light color is going to be where those segments are. And I can faintly see where my lines are still. So that's good. But I'm going to take some green and we're going to make a very light green. I am going to use the brush to mix it. And this color will be probably the lightest of all the greens. It's almost like a sea foam green that we're going to do. Now, it's probably not going to be enough paint, so let's take and try to mix that color a little bit more. Make some more of it. And squeeze out that paintbrush by spinning it and pull it off. That'll help get that paint off of there. Like wringing out a mop. Do people still do that? So many people using Swiffers and actually using mops that just wring themselves out. Now, I'm going to try to do this with a paintbrush. Yes. Now, the whole idea is that you want this paint to be a lot looser than what we've already been doing. I want it to be a very pale, but a thinner paint will stick to the thicker paint. And that's words of the legend of Bob Ross. So if you make this color really liquidy by adding water, it's going to give you a very light consistency. Now, can you use the back end of a paintbrush? Yes. And we will test that first before we go any farther. This is where the definition of all these little segments of the lime are going to come into play. So if I take this brush and put it in our ink-like consistency of paint, it will be a very tiny line. Now this color will go around the center of the lime. And it's a little bit lighter than, well, I might want it actually lighter than this. We're going to just test it. I think I'm going to make it a little bit lighter. I'm going to add some more white into it. Let's just pull all this white over here. A really pale lime green or seafoam green. I don't, you just need it a lot lighter than that. So I'm going to take as much white as I have there. I'm going to add some more water by dipping my brush into the water and just lifting it out of my water cup. And just add it on to your palette and give it a good swirl. We want this very loose color, loose paint. Just almost like you're doing watercolor. We did that yesterday. But yeah. Now, if you want to use a teeny tiny brush and you want to take it and make little dots with a teeny tiny brush, it is not easy as you would think. So clean it off and use the backside. Backside of the tiny brush. And I'm going to find my lines. And I'm just going to tap this loose paint where the segment lines are. It will look like it's just like all one line because it's the same shape and it's very loose. It will give you this look. Now, if it's too much and you don't want that much of a point, if you want to pull some of that out, put a paper towel to a point and just dot the paper towel in there to remove some of it. Remember, this is very loose paint, and if you use a paper towel, it will actually absorb some of that up. Let me find the other segment. I go straight across. It should be the segment. I'm just going straight across because I did make this an equal 8 as far as the segments. Even though the reference piece had like 11. I don't even know how that happens. You would think that the segments would be in equal number. They're not. So now we have 4, so we're going to divide that in half. And where's my line? It's going to go across here. And you don't necessarily have to make them equal sections because in nature it could have more or less an odd number of sections. Now, this is not the fastest way to paint. That's why the masters took many years to paint ginormous paintings like this. Um, so this is also kind of a lesson in patience because you have to be pretty patient to do pointillism, I think. And that's one of the things that when I teach the kids at the school, it is an art lesson, but it's also a lesson on being patient and making your art. Sometimes you don't have to rush it. I mean, we are using acrylic paint, so we have to not spend months and months on this if you were doing it with oil. I don't think I've ever done one in oil before in pointillism. I am going to make that center dot a lot lighter. Now, when you put the segments in it, doesn't it look cool? It really finishes it off. I think it looks so cool. Now, the segments in the other ones that are here, they're going to be pretty much the same process. I'm going to use the same color. But I'm not going to make them as defined. Just dots, guys. Only dots. Just make dots. This one over here is a little odd shaped line. Maybe it got squished. If this was ASMR, it would be just like little dot, 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 dot. Mm, I did one this way. I'm just trying to pick up the pace here for you guys. I might not be doing the background on this one today, or I'll do it later. And in the thumbnail, I will show the finished, just for the sake of time of the live video. And it's going to be the same process. It's so much fun. I know some of you are like, this doesn't look like fun, but it really is. It's very relaxing. Let me add some more water to this just to wake it up some more because it's starting to dry out. Just to get this last one done. Just gonna add some more water to the palette. You guys can't even see me doing that. Just waking this back up so I have enough to go across this last line. I'm using the back end of the brush and just adding in the little segments of line. Might have to just do one dot at a time. Dot. This one I did have another segment this way. One dot at a time, guys. One dot at a time. Just like one day at a time, guys. Taking it easy. Making art. One day at a time. This week is art tutorial week. And we have a different medium and technique every day this week. And if you like segment videos like this, you'd like for me to do more, y'all let me know. I might start doing some pre-recorded videos and edit them, even though editing is not my favorite thing to do. I might be doing some of that. Just gonna add a little more lighter white, almost completely white in the middle. Sorry, my hand's going right over that. A very light green. So if you are just tuning in live, we have been painting in the style of Pointillism and only using shade or a hue of a color of green. We mixed all these green colors. Some of them may look more yellow than others, but that's called yellow-green. And so this is the orientation. So this is where we're at. And I have a reference piece there above, but everything is done in dots. Now, if you see areas where it's lighter, if you want to lighten them up, you can grab another Q-tip, add a touch of water to it, and then find another value on your palette that you may want to lighten it up a little. So I'm going to try to get this really, really light green right here. Very, very light. And let's say I just want to add a couple little highlights over some areas. And this will finish it off with some, like it's a juicier lime. And this is very light color. And I'm adding a little water to the Q-tip because that's going to give us a little bit of a looser paint or watered down paint. I'm just going to go in and barely touch in. See if I can squeeze this Q-tip out with this color. Just a couple little glistening spots. I can get enough of this color to do this. I'm only going to do this on the main one. And it's just going to make it look like it's a very juicy lime. Okay. I think that's going to be it for the actual limes. And then all of this is negative space is going to be all of this like you see in the reference piece here. So I'll pull that down. I'm just going to go in and do this, but I'm going to do that off camera for now. This is basically finished except for these negative spaces here, and I will do that in, and I will pop in the overall image. This is what our palette ended up looking like. I've got so much blue, but we're going to use more of this in that negative space, so it's not going to get wasted. But isn't that fun? All different shades of green. And here's our limes. So let's go back to our other scene by clicking the magic button. Hello. So you guys can see it here. And I will hold it up this way. So this is what it's looking like. And I'll fill in all those negative spaces. And in the thumbnail, probably on somewhere, probably on this side over here, I'll have the finished piece. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you learned a little bit about pointillism and how spacing works to give you lights and darks, and how you can just use one color to just make a painting, all different shades of green to make a lime. So with that little twist, I think I'm calling it done today. So if you are new, please consider subscribing to our channel down there. And ring the bell for notifications. We are going live every single day this week, and our schedule is basically tomorrow we will be doing fiber art. We will be really getting to the point with very special needle felting needles and doing needle felting. So this is our schedule here. Let me move this little guy out of the way. So we will be doing needle felting tomorrow. And if you wanted to follow along, you will need wool. Oops, I went too far. I went. You'll need wool in several colors, felting needles, a sponge, and either you can either do this in a 3D form, which you won't need a canvas, or if you wanted to do a small canvas, you could do that as well. It needs to be a little like a stretched canvas. And these needles are super sharp. So whether you want to do, this is actually the image here. This is like was was sold a long time ago. I did this one. It is a painting, and then I needle felted a koi fish and a little lily pad area here, and that's all needle felted in there, and it's a lot of fun to do it on canvas. It does take a lot of time to do needle felting, so we will be doing the basics of needle felting tomorrow. And yeah, so get ready. That's going to be tomorrow is Thursday. We will be on a little bit earlier than we have been the past couple days. And I hope you guys have enjoyed doing lines, shades of green, and pointillism today. So, with that being said, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, and see you later tomorrow.